Look at this. These roots are spectacular. Cheers. Hello, and welcome to my living room. Welcome back, friends. It is a new day, and I thought I would catch up on some very neglected plant chores. So get comfortable, because there is a lot to do, like an almost overwhelming amount of plant chores. Grab a drink and let's get started. First on the list, this has been long overdue. So I purchased this Alocasia watsoniana when it was this size right here, and I decided that I was going to definitely put it in some kind of semi-hydro substrate. So I put it in water. I have rinsed the algae for you so you don't have to look at this horrifying sight, and it put out a leaf that was giant, 3 times the size of the original leaf, with this amazing aubergine colored back. So it's finally time to put this in a pond mixture that I'm going to mix with a little bit of vermiculite and a little bit of perlite, just to make it lighter and stretch the pond out, but it will likely love a semi-hydro. So follow along for that, why don't you? Okay, I worked very hard on this watsoniana. Look, this is where the new baby is coming out. I worked very hard to get this level of rootage from nothing. This is the watsoniana that I received from BWH or Canopy Plants, one of those. And then I took a cue from Alocasia Australia. That's an Instagram account focusing on alocasias, and she rips off all of her roots, puts them in water, and lets them all grow water roots. And this is what has happened, which is, I think, very impressive. I'm hoping that this one day will give our lucky roots watsoniana a run for its money, but like, so stunning. So what I did was I rinsed this mixture of perlite, vermiculite, and pond together. And I was going to just put it in pond, but one of you guys suggested to kind of add a little bit of aeration and levity, which we can all use some levity, right, with these other 2 ingredients. But I just love the texture. I just love the golden and kind of pyrite sheen of the vermiculite. So this has been growing great just in these absolutely barbaric water and nutrient conditions. So let's put it in the net pot and see what happens. Oh, I guess you want to see, huh? So I don't know about y'all, but I have been thrilled that Bridgerton is back. Although I am less than excited that they divided it into 2 seasons. Of course, this is the one where Colin and Penelope have their great love story. I never read the book. Some of my friends have. And I know it's just supposed to be kind of based on the costumes of the time, but I do follow the costume designer on Instagram. I love a period drama so much. So I really love The Gilded Age, Bridgerton, and obviously Downton Abbey. If I had it like another career, if I had to do it over again, I would have loved to do something in wardrobe or costume design or theater. I guess that wasn't what I was supposed to do. Let's add some water. Drink up. I'm going to put it exactly back where it was getting a fair amount of bright indirect light. I mean, enough for it to push out this massive leaf in comparison to this little tiny leaf it came with. So I'm just going to let it ride. It's not broken. I'm not going to fix it. Into the window you go. But I am feeling parched, so let's get a drink. Please accompany me to the bar. Literally use number 501 for Andrew's birthday party cups. We're going to make an Aperol Spritz, except for this is not Aperol or Campari. Similar, though. It's something Alison Roman recommended. Such a happy sound. Cheers. So I'm going to gather some supplies because there's a lot of repotting to do. Grab a drink. There's Andrew. But let's take care of some plants. I'm going to do something cool with you, madam. The first order of business is this Carlo Blackier hybrid, Carlo Blackier crystallinum from BWH has been sizing up like crazy. The only modifications I made to it, well, first of all, it had a little accident, so I put a cast on it here. And then I added some sphagnum moss here on the top just to help keep it damp, which for me, growing in ambient really seems to help. And then I recently saw that it was bursting at the seams in the little green nursery pot that it came from. So I just, in the interim, I stuck it in this pot and I was blown away by this level of rootage here already. So I'm not surprised this has been a really quick grower. This leaf, this was its largest leaf and then it sized up immediately to this one. So it's just been an absolute joy to grow and care for, but it's time to give it a new house. It has outgrown its home. I'm going to see what kind of soil they have it in. So I'm going to try to my best to mimic it, if you will, because it's done really well. And I'm definitely not tied to one type of substrate. It's not one size fits all for me. So, I mean, these roots are spectacular on this plant. This is, I feel like, one of the best purchases of the year for me. I am just absolutely in love with this. So it looks like, of course, we have some perlite. I would imagine maybe they have some worm castings in here. I've seen a little bit of coconut chips. Perhaps this is charcoal. Seems like there is some type of, like, I'm sure very good organic and rich potting soil in here. But what I'm going to do is I'm not going to mess with it too much. Like, if it's not broken, I'm not going to fix it. I'm not going to disturb the root ball. There's no need to. I'm going to plunk it in with my substrate and just kind of let it ride. Let me gather a few materials and get started with that. Okay, so I stepped into the garage to make this mix of mostly some orchietta, tree fern fiber, kind of buried in here, a little bit of coconut chips, some pon, perlite, and then buried in here is some worm castings. And so I am gonna mix this up and probably add a bit more tree fern fiber, but that's real chunky. Love it. Here we are. Ramen-like, so good. And I'm gonna upsize into this guy here. But first, I am going to use, I'm going to use a little bit of this great white, this beneficial bacteria. I'm going to sprinkle this on the roots first. So you could mix it in with your soil, like a little sprinkle. You could mix it in with your water. It does smell of a breakfast cereal. It does smell kind of like food. Just going to use about that much here. And I have been, since I discovered this sort of recently, I really attribute it to the fuzzy roots that I've been getting on my new plants that I've been putting into pon and leca, because I can really tell there. I'm such a fan of this stuff. I don't know if any of you remember this movie from the 80s with Fairuza Balk called Return to Oz, and they had this powder of life stuff that they stole from this character called Mombi, which had she had a bunch of heads locked up in a closet because she would change them out with her outfits and her mood. And she guarded this powder of life that you could sprinkle on anything, it would make it come to life. Well, this great white is truly the plant version of this, and I love it. So, okay. So I did in fact add a lot more of the tree fern fiber in here, and I actually added a little bit of pumice as well. So I'm just going to go nuts and I'm going to fill in these gaps here. And like I said, I'm just plunking it in. I'm not disturbing the root ball at all. There's just no need. It's letting sleeping giants lie. This is looking way more of a hospitable environment for this gorgeous plant to grow into. Oh my god, is he stunning or what? Fully disturbed the moss on the top, but that's okay. So I'm gonna give this a water and then place it lovingly back on the shelf and wait for another upsized leaf, because this plant is not disappointed. It's sold out now. I hope they make more. Get yourself one. This was a people pleaser. All right, so let's take a look at what's happening here in Precious Plant Corner. What's new? I recently sort of reconfigured all this. It was getting really cluttered and crazy looking. I moved some stuff around. So finally, this guy quit misbehaving and put out a new leaf. It still has, let's see, 1, 2, 3 fenestrations on one side and one on the other. This is the last one. So it was dormant. It stopped producing leaves for like 8 months, which was really weird. But I sprinkled it with some great white powder. I moved the location. Seems to be coming back. I'm better late than never. So we'll see what happens with this one. But I mean, the leaf is pretty. Okay, so the queens appear to all be going off simultaneously at this very moment, which is great because I've honestly had hit or miss luck with them, but lately it's a hit and I've been hitting them hard with the experimentation. Let's go over that. This is my queen that I got from Equigenera as a seedling. It had, I think, 2 or 3 tiny, tiny leaves, and this is its newest one. So it's in this little tiny net pot. I put it in water for maybe a week and I let it hydrate and attempt to grow some water roots. And then look at this. Is this not the most beautiful, reassuring thing you've ever seen out of a queen? So there's a little bit of a water reservoir in here. And this is just happy and perky as a clam. I did also sprinkle a little bit of great white on the top here. It still gets nutrients and CalMag, and I mixed the great white in on the top. If this is not an endorsement for that product, I don't know what else is. So that's Queen A. Queen B. Oh, Queen B. Let's move over here. How do I do this without knocking anything over? Moving any of these over is always harrowing. So this is Queen B. Here we are. This one came out with a nice bullet hole, which was annoying. But here's the newest leaf, looking really good. This is pretty much just in coconut chips and perlite. Exhibit B, something different. This leaf looks perfect. She's a vision. This is perhaps my proudest queen moment. This little baby Warwickwianum here that I resurrected from a stump. This was nearly dead, and I decided to stick it in water, some pond, and then just let it ride, and it has surprised me. So this is its leaf, which looks really nice and healthy, and it is currently in a state of unfurl. So that's it, and then we have a couple more growth points here. So one guy here and another guy here. So this is far from done. So this is a success story because queens can be difficult. Don't give up if you have it in you. And then the last one is of course the queen of the living room right here. This anthurium Zamora queen. I love an anthurium queen hybrid. They are many times so much easier, but this is her newest leaf. Looking really nice. And in a also state of unfurl. I've been pretty good about keeping this moss pretty moist and looking really lovely. Let's see what else is going on here. The Doc Block, Michelle is doing really beautifully. This is the new emergent. So nice. And hey, it's me from the future. There was a little bit of a catastrophe, I'm afraid to tell you. While I was trying to move the giant Magnificum Silver out of the way because it was like aggressively mad dogging and getting in the way of my Melanochrysum, I accidentally knocked and broke the new emerging Zamora Queen leaf. And so now this is it. I had to cut it off because it was hanging by a thread. I tried to tape it and splint it, and the leaf immediately wilted and started to die. And so this is it. So we're gonna try again. You know, there's something that is so maddening about destroying your own queen leaf. They're hard enough. There's nothing more exciting when there's one emerging, and then when you knock it off yourself by doing something stupid, I just can't think of anything that makes you feel dumber and more frustrated. Here we are. We're starting over. It's life as a plant parent. Always a interesting journey. This guy's just so beautiful and well behaved. When I bought this, it was on this weird little pole right here, and then I was like, I'll put it on a moss pole, and then I just put this plastic stake here. And I still have not put it on a moss pole. And now this is going to be like a real task if that's what I do. Oh, there I am in the picture right there. David Portilla Dreams. So this one annoyingly had a big bite out of it. And then now this new one also has a twin matching bite. So that's irritating. It seems like that all of my veitchii now, the king and queens, the royal couple, are all popping off together, which is great. I mean, this is So lovely. This is the wide type, which it's just how far apart these are. Okay. And then we also have a lovely luxuriance. Like, look at Daddy here. Ooh. So I wonder how big you're gonna get. Let's look at your petiole here. Pretty good. All right. I'm pleased as punch with what is popping off over here. Leonard has a new baby coming out here. This doesn't look great. I was watching Alice from You Don't Even Grow Here, and she was troubleshooting plants, and she said this looked like on a similar plant, like maybe some edema from sudden overwatering. So, I mean, that's always possible. Sometimes I give him a really good soak, and I shouldn't, but Leonard himself looks, I mean, he's my star. He's my golden child. I can't wait to see what his baby looks like. Well, it's day 2, and I simply could not seem to mobilize and was having a bit of an existential crisis. This is the part where I sat idly with a cup of noodles in my bedroom and stared at the walls. Okay, I wasn't initially planning on making this part of my plant chore list, but this guy here, Red Crystallinum Doriaki from Instagram, has gotten, it does not fit this little Dixie cup anymore. So I'm going to have to repot it. How cute does it look in this little cloche, though? Such a fan. Well, let's get to that. This is actually 2 plants. That's the newest leaf, but a like ridiculously robust root system. This cup runneth over. So I am going to upsize it a little bit to, I had 2 choices and electing to go with this one so it's not swimming. I'm going to leave it in the sphagnum. Not really going to do much there. I'm going to gently take this out, though. Can't believe how much this has grown in such a short amount of time. Wow. Yeah, it was really time to come out. Poison Ivy Plant Lady, who I got this on Instagram from. Look at these roots. So nice. Has this just in a little bit of, or some perlite, it looks like, and some moss. I am going to do a little bit of great white here.
Today's secret word is...
Just to help it develop a more robust root system. I'm going to sprinkle a little bit on my mat here. And just kind of roll this around a bit. Okay, so luckily some tree fern fiber just arrived in perfect time. So I ordered this from Amazon. I'm going to add it to my potting mix. And this is really going to help with maintaining a neutral pH and giving the plant something nice and airy. Okay, so I'm going to put a little bit of this in the bottom. Let's see, I think this will be good. This little cup had 0 drainage. This one here has a couple different drainage holes, so it shouldn't be too different than what the plant was used to. Let's see, it's sitting a little bit too low. Add a little bit more. I think that's pretty good. Pretty centered here. Well, and this is handy. So I did not anticipate doing this today, but every time I go in there, I look at this in its little cloche and think like, oh, we're really pushing maximum occupancy here. That's pretty good. So watering wise, this has filtered water, CalMag, Super Thrive. Cool. And let's see if it still fits in the cloche. It does. All right, back on the shelf you go. All right, somehow this always seems to happen, so. Are you even a plant parent if the canister of your vacuum cleaner doesn't look like this? Okay, next up, I am going to finally get around to transferring this stunning philodendron Florida Beauty from this sad little pot. I mean, look how floppy this is. This does not make for a very secure plant that wants to climb and produce larger leaves. This is the newest leaf coming out here. Am I asking for it to put it on a moss pole now? Maybe, but I don't plan on disturbing the root ball too much, so maybe it will like feeling a little bit more secure, I hope. In the meantime, this was an Etsy purchase. Love this. I mean, a half moon is pretty great. Like the rest of the Florida family, this has been very non-fussy. This one has not had a problem like many of my Florida beauties with reverting to very unspectacular color stories and color palettes, but this one has been such a joy. So I really want to give it its best shot and let it climb up a moss pole, feel secure, and let it throw out the biggest, most beautiful leaves. Like, I want to give you your best shot. I'm going to give this guy a chance. So I'm going to put this on a moss pole. Today I'm using the moss poles from Rousseau, which are really nice because you can unsnap them from the front and take them out or add to them. I mean, I'm not worried about this getting large and toppling over anytime soon. So maybe a reinforced wire one will be in the future for me. Who's to say? Where's my moss? Okay, here is my moss. I added a little bit of coconut chips to it to perhaps help with adding a little bit of moisture retention. And you know what? You don't need to go all the way up as far as filling it with moss because you can just add it to the top. I mean, because moss is expensive. And then you know what? Guess what? You're just going to, if it dries out and there's nothing there, it's just going to be more work for you. I'm going to pack this tightly, but not too tight to help hold on to the moisture. All right. So this is always amateur hour when I try to do this, I swear. Too much moss. Top, middle, and bottom. Ha. Gotcha. Shove this down here. The bottom bit is going to be for substrate that's going to go in the pot. Looking pretty good. I love it. I love it. I'm going to be undoing these probably soon to attach the plant. Shove a little bit more down here. Okay, that looks good so far. This too. Awesome. Okay. So this is the bit here in the front that we're going to be attempting to adhere to the moss poles. This is the most exciting part, is it not? So it's in like a little bit of a plug. Fine. Okay. It's like surgical precision, I tell you. That seems like a good spot. Right there. Okay, cool. I think that's a pretty good spot there. Okay, I think that looks pretty good. It's just going to have to be open. It's definitely in there. The plant is definitely going to be growing into this pole. All right, let me get the pot. All right, I'm going to use this one here, which has a detached reservoir drip tray. I'm going to add some substrate into here, just into the bottom. Height-wise, this is pretty good. So I'm going to hang on to this and fill it. And I'm going to use the plant's original potting mix as well, because why not? Waste not, want not. There's nothing wrong with this soil. Just leaving this open too, because it's not going to close. So I'm really going to be using like a plant tape, the plant Velcro tape, to adhere this while it grows in. Okay, the good news is this little darling didn't seem to mind being stuck on a moss pole at the beginning of his unfurling. It's taking everything in my being to not unfurl this leaf and not mess with it. It is truly my toxic trait. I'm tired. I got a lot done here. I'm feeling good about it. Thank you so much for joining me on this planty chore adventure. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe so you don't have any plant FOMO. And I will see you next time, friends. It's almost overwhelming. Stop.